I like that douchey's question is basically, hey, why don't you start gunning down random people that you suspect of being brown, okay? Why don't we just start gunning down random brown people? Nice, dude, thanks. The entire point of this conversation is that you don't want to go to the judge because you know you don't have any evidence. And the DHS is openly stating that they don't have enough evidence to deport these people. Dude, lying is so undefeated. It is crazy. Has anyone ever thought about just simply lying? Like a lot. Every single thing he says, every single thing he says is a lie. Guys, they want to send American citizens to a slave labor camp in El Salvador for vandalism. I can't explain to you how insane this is. Holy, that is so crazy. But let's get started. Trump takes questions from reporters after announcing fighter jet contract.
To be serviced much better than it has in the past. It's been a mess. Releasing that because many presidents have gone through it and they haven't released. And I said, release. We even released Social Security numbers. I didn't want anything deleted. They said, sir, what about Social Security? People long gone, but they're long gone, so I can't imagine. But I said, if you don't delete it, if you do delete it, we have people are going to say, why did you delete it? There's something in there. So we gave Social Security, we gave everything. And the rest is for you to look at, Peter. You're going to see whether or not you see anything. But we've given it. We're doing it with Dr. Martin Luther King, too. They're preparing all of that. They're going to release everything. And
that's crazy. Okay, that's wild. Wait, what do you mean? So he's going to release the files on MLK's assassination? Ain't no way, dude. Ain't no way are they going to release the full files. There's no shot. I guess maybe because he hates the FBI, right? Maybe he's like, yeah, that's right. I hate the FBI. They came after me just like MLK. They killed him just like they tried to kill me.
Whoever else they want. I mean, you know, we have nothing. We really have nothing to hide. We should.
It is amazing how much play podcasters get. Like, it is we are living in the podcast world, dude. This is the podcasters universe. We are just simply living in the podcasters universe.
Shouldn't have, you know, when a lot of time goes by. But with the Kennedy files in particular, they were going crazy on them. I don't think there's anything that's earth-shattering, but you'll have to make that determination. In those, you know, it's 80,000. It's actually 88,000, and we have some additional things, as you know, come out today. And for that, you can go to the offices and you can see whatever you want to see. Everything is out there, totally open. The additional stuff is available later on today. You go over to the offices and you can have it immediately. And you'll make a determination.
And on something else, these Tren de Aragua guys, because of your executive order, they are designated as foreign terrorists.
Yeah.
If ISIS or Al-Qaeda foreign terrorists were operating here in the United States, cops would probably be shooting first and asking questions later. And so what is the difference between terrorists, between somebody like an ISIS or an Al-Qaeda operative versus a MS-13 or Tren de Aragua?
Well, these are people that focus on destroying people in their homes. They're not as international in that sense. They're a group of thugs. They come from Venezuela.
Why don't we shoot first and ask questions later about people that we suspect as being Tren de Aragua terrorists? I don't know. Maybe because half of the people that you're locking up have no association with Tren de Aragua whatsoever. And it would be absolutely psychotic to just gun random people that you suspect of being Venezuelan down in the streets. What the fuck is this question? This guy, douchey. It's douchey, right? I think it is douchey. It sounded a lot like him. I like that douchey's question is basically, hey, why don't you start gunning down random people that you suspect of being brown, okay? Why don't we just start gunning down random brown people? Nice, dude. Thanks.
Well, they come from the prisons of Venezuela. They're very, very dangerous people, but they didn't look so dangerous when the guards took care of the situation from El Salvador. And I want to thank the president. He's a friend of mine. He's done a great job. But I just can't imagine that the Democrats are taking this issue where they want to have them back. You know, so now they have men playing in women's sports. They have transgender for everyone. They have open borders. They have all of their crazy policies that are, I think, 95-5, not 90-10, okay? And their new policy is, let's bring Trinidad back into our country. Let's bring the worst. These are the worst gang members there are. They looked amazingly frail, though, by the way they were handled. It's very amazing. You know, they weren't, when they were in Colorado cutting the fingers off a man because he made a phone call to the police, they seemed a lot tougher then than they did when they were having their heads shaved and they were in shackles. They're tough people. They're bad people. We don't want them in our country. We can't let a judge say that he wants him. You know, he didn't run for president. He didn't get much more than 80 million votes. And we just can't let that happen. It'd be so bad for our country. I won on the basis of getting criminals out of our country that were let in. It was called unforced error. They were let in by Biden, incompetently let in, and let in by the millions, actually. 21 million people. I believe it's 21 million. And that's not even including the gotaways, but these are rough people. We want them out of our country. And I won the election based at least partly on that. And that's a big part, yeah?
Mr. President, there's several. I don't know if you saw this. Tim Walz is now saying about Trump supporters, and forgive me, I'm just reading a quote from Tim Walz, I think I could kick most of their ass.
Oh, boy, he'd be in trouble.
Is there any way to know?
Well, he's a loser. You know, I mean, the guy's a loser. He lost an election. He played a part. You know, usually a vice president doesn't play a part, they say. I think Tim played a part. I think he was so...
Yeah, he did. The part he played was being back-pocketed into oblivion. If Tim Walz had been unleashed, I think the chances of the Kamala Walz ticket would be significantly better. Okay? Straight up. I will stand on that. You might not agree with everything that Tim Walz did on the campaign, and I think personally that there were a lot of mistakes, especially mistakes in terms of like not letting him communicate in the ways that he wanted to. Some of that we actually heard about, like the whole weird thing, right? They stopped him from doing that, which was stupid. But there's also other issues. I think if left to his own devices, he would have done a significantly better job talking about immigration, but he couldn't, step out of line with the top of the ticket on that front or with the Democratic Party. He couldn't, I don't know what his genuine perspective would have been in terms of the Israel stuff, but judging by his actions in Congress, when he was a member of Congress, like he was anti-war. He was one of the select few openly anti-war Democrats, like one of the last bastion of like the anti-war Democrats out there. I don't think he loves Israel as much as people claim he does. He was just very clearly forced into that position. Maybe it's copium. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Walz was an Israel fanatic. First of all, if you judge Democrats off of, bruh, stop coping, I need everyone to understand something, okay? I am speculating here because I know more than you do about his fucking track record. And the reason why I'm speculating in this direction is because you don't know his track record in Congress. You don't know that at all. I'm analyzing what he has done in terms of like when he had legislative power. Okay. Yes, he absolutely did come across as the bog standard pro-Israel Dem when he was running for VP. He also basically went back on a lot of his own personal policies in Minnesota and his own policy prescriptions when he was a congressperson in the Democratic Party when he was running alongside Kamala Harris. I know. And you could easily say he should have demonstrated courage as the vice president. I agree. It probably would have even salvaged the reputation of the ticket if he actually did step out of line, if there was a little bit of controversy surrounding Tim Walz and Kamala Harris not actually on board with the same agenda or whatever. He didn't do that. He probably should have. That would have genuinely been helpful for the Democrats, whether they recognize it or not. But he wanted to be a team player. He wanted to be Biden was the strongest candidate we had. Yeah, we should have ran Uncle Brandon again. You're right. He is. He's the strongest. These guys are truly terrified of broaching the issue of Israel. Like the way I know that. Like I know no matter how progressive they are, unless you're like a Rashida Tlaib or an Ilhan Omar, okay, most Democrats shit in their diapers when the issue of Israel comes up. Okay? Even progressive Democrats like Bernie Sanders and even progressive Democrats like AOC, you would think that the entire Democratic caucus has like, blackmail on them or something, the way that they operate. Okay? I know. I see it. I see it every day. It is absurd. It's not, there is no issue, I think, within the Democratic Party that is so directly at odds with the base's demands than Israel. Like the Democratic Party is overwhelmingly, at this point, the Democratic Party's base of support overwhelmingly says Israel's gone way too far, okay? It ranges from two-staters to the person that does not know what the fuck Israel even is, but just hears about it in the news and goes, I don't like all the baby murder I've seen that my children keep harassing me about, okay? And yet, in spite of all of that, in spite of the genuine momentum shift on this key issue, Democrats are terrified of stepping out of line. It doesn't make any sense. It's very stupid. You're libbing out a little? How is this libbing out? I'm saying that the Democratic Party across the board is directly at odds with its base, okay, on this issue, on many issues, but specifically with Israel. It's like such an obvious gimme. It's such an obvious, easy-ass point of contention that they could stress to expose the hypocrisy of the Trump administration in terms of claiming that they're fucking free speech, pro-free speech, but then simultaneously undermining that, claiming that they want law and order while routinely violating laws and creating disorder because you have hurt the feelings of Israel. Like, this is a foreign country. What are you talking about? There are so many ways that you could communicate to the broader public, reach across the aisle even, something that Democrats love doing. It is the easiest gimme of all time, and yet Democrats are asleep at the wheel or shitting in their diapers, basically. They just don't want to fight this fight at all, and it's very frustrating. Even purely on electoral strategy grounds, it makes no sense that they are so uncomfortable on this issue. They're so scared about just saying enough is enough.
Bad that he hurt her, but she hurt herself, and Joe hurt them both. They didn't have a great group, but I would probably put him at the bottom of the group.
Have you heard that Biden wants to get back involved for Democratic politicians, fundraising and campaigning against your policies?
I hope so.
Mr. President, there are several families. Mr. President, there are families from some of the people.
Who are you with?
I'm with La Nación newspaper from Argentina. There are families from some of the people that were on those flights to El Salvador that claim that they're not criminals, they're not members of Tren de Aragua, of MS-13. What can you tell them, and what guarantees can you give them that everyone in those planes were actual criminals, terrorists, as you said?
Well, I was told that they went through a very strong vetting process.
Did they?
And that will also be continuing in El Salvador. And if there's anything like that, we would certainly want to find out. But these were a bad group. This was a bad group, and they were in bad areas, and they were with a lot of other people that were absolutely killers, murderers, and people that were really bad with the worst records you've ever seen. And but we will continue that process, absolutely. We don't want to make that kind of a mistake.
Is the U.S. planning to give up the position of NATO's Supreme Allied Commander, and if so, why?
NATO is something that I saved. NATO was gone until I came along. In fact, the previous Secretary General, very good man, both of them are good. The current man is fantastic. But both of them have said, if it wasn't for Trump, you wouldn't even have a NATO, because we were paying the cost of almost all of the countries. And now they're paying. I said, we're not going to do this. We're not going to continue. You hurt us on trade. You do bad things on trade. And then on top of it, we're supposed to pay for your military. And because of what I did, hundreds of billions of dollars flowed into NATO by countries that just weren't paying. They were delinquent. They weren't paying their bills. So NATO is solid. They're strong. But they have to treat us fairly.
Are we going to give up the...
Because, look, without us, NATO is not the same thing. And I can tell you, I've been having very good discussions, as you know, with President Zelensky and with President Putin. And President Putin will tell you that without the United States, he wouldn't be worried. But he is worried when the United States is involved. And I have to tell you, I've dealt very well with both gentlemen, and we have, I think we have the confines of a deal. I hope we have the confines of a deal. I'm doing it for two reasons. Number one, and by far most importantly, thousands of young people, and they're not American people, they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, are being killed every week, thousands a week. And also the United States has paid, because of Biden, $350 billion on a war that should have never happened. If we had a competent president in this, sitting right here, that war would have never happened. It would have absolutely never happened with me. And it didn't happen. For 4 years, it didn't happen.
Mr. President, do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against them?
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs.
No, it doesn't.
Because we were, unfortunately, they allowed millions of people to come into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. So you ought to ask, did he have the authority to allow millions of people? Did Biden have the authority to do something that's unthinkable? Have open borders where millions of people poured into our country, totally unvetted and totally unchecked, just as you would say. And many of those people were criminals. Many of them were from jails and prisons and mental institutions and gang members and drug dealers and very dangerous people. Many were murderers. We have 11,088 that we know of murderers they murdered. Of that number, at least half killed more than one person. They're in our country. They're in a location near you. Biden.
Okay, dude. Just what is the purpose of having these sorts of press conferences if you know, you just get to say whatever you want to say. No one is gonna be able to course correct here. He's just straight up lying. Like the questions that came before this basically undermine this position that he's trying to keep repeating. Hey, why do you keep saying they're like all murderers when, you know, it's clear that a lot of these guys are not even criminals at all. They have no criminal records. Something that the Department of Homeland Security has also admitted in their briefings. Why do you keep saying that? And he's like, oh, they're vetted. They're vetted so well by the DHS. It's like, okay, but the DHS's own vetting process shows that there's very little evidence. And if there was need, if they had done the perfect vetting, then they'd have a strong case for deportation in the court system. If they had clear evidence, hard, tangible evidence on terrorism grounds, then you could take it to a judge and the judge would sign off on it. The entire point of this conversation is that you don't want to go to the judge because you know you don't have any evidence. And the DHS is openly stating that they don't have enough evidence to deport these people. And a lot of dummies will come into this chat and still say, well, coming here illegally is a crime. Yes, dumbass, I know. So is fucking jaywalking, okay? Shut up. You don't understand what you're saying. There are crimes that warrant deportation. Trump knows this. You don't. That's the reason why he lies about the severity of the crimes. Do you not understand that? The problem is these people did not come in here illegally. Many of these people actually came here legally. They came here because Trump invited them. First, Trump ruined their economy deliberately and then invited them here and gave them temporary protected status, proper documentation to work inside of U.S. borders. You are too stupid to understand any of this stuff. So you just go, coming here illegally is a crime. Y'all crazy? I'm getting death threats with this? Stop fucking crying, okay? Shut up. Shut up. You're imagining death threats that you're getting right now. Shut up. I hate this shit. Conservatives come in here and they're like, sorry, sucks to suck. People that actually have the proper documentation, that have had that documentation removed from them like that, who are getting deported to a fucking slave camp, deserve to be sent to a slave camp. Doesn't matter. No due process. Don't give a shit. And then you immediately go, oh, people are being mean to me. Shut up. God, I can't fucking stand the soy right, dude. Holy fuck. Bunch of pathetic cry bullies. Oh my Lord, dude. Unfucking bearable. Constantly advocating for more death and more destruction, more harm to others that have less than them, and then immediately going, oh, you're being mean to me. You're being so mean. What did I do other than advocate for an insane process of just like randomly grabbing people off the fucking street that previously had the proper documentation and then shipping them off to an unaccountable, serial human rights violating slave labor colony? What happened to civility? I was just simply being a fucking Nazi. Why can't I just advocate for a little bit of fascism without even recognizing that that will inevitably hurt you? Huh? Bir dakika veremem şu anda. Vereceğim birazdan. Dur.
Allow that to happen to our country. And there's people that really ran the country. And the person that operated the auto pen, I think we ought to find out who that was, because I guess that was the real president. So when you ask me if we have the authority, did Biden have the authority to allow millions of people to come into our country? Many of these people hardened criminals at the top of the line who have caused tremendous damage in our country. You see them in New York City fighting with our police. I mean, literally having fist fights in the street with our police. These are tough, hard criminals. Many of them came out of jails, and not just South America, from all over the world. They came out from Africa, from the Congo. They came out from Asia, not just South America, but many from South America. These are hard, tough criminals, and we have to get them out. And a judge sitting behind a bench someplace got a nice appointment. You can't take that away from the people that are responsible. Now, in this case, Marco Rubio has a lot of big decisions to make, and he's a fantastic person, a great man. I think he'll be our best. I think he has a chance to be our best Secretary of State. He's been doing incredibly. He works so hard. He's gone to so many different countries already, and he's got the authority to get bad people out of our country. And you can't stop that with a judge sitting behind a bench that has no idea what goes on, who happens to be a radical left lunatic.
Do you think the judiciary?
You guys today are denying this New York Times report that Elon Musk was going to be shown a 20 to 30 page presentation about a theoretical war plan against China. Why not just show it to Elon?
Because I don't want to show it to anybody. You know, you're talking about a potential war with China. Now, I deal with these people all the time, and I'm dealing with Pete. I'm dealing with these gentlemen on numerous different airplane purchases, and I think they're all going to be great. But I don't want other people seeing potential war with China. We don't want to have a potential war with China, but I can tell you if we did, we're very well equipped to handle it. But I don't want to show that to anybody. But certainly you wouldn't show it to a businessman who is helping us so much. He's a great patriot. He's paying a big price for helping us cut costs, and he's doing a great job. He's finding tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. But I certainly wouldn't want, Elon has businesses in China, and he would be susceptible perhaps to that. But it was such a fake story. The New York Times is just as fake as CNN and MSDNC. And anybody read that story,
Yeah, it's a fake story. But also, Elon Musk would like to prosecute the leakers. That's what you do with fake stories. The New York Times is pure propaganda. Also, I look forward to the prosecutions of those at the Pentagon who are leaking maliciously false information to the New York Times. They will be found. It's simultaneously a fake story and also, why did you release this information? We're going to prosecute you. Yeah, I can't believe they're leaking false information. The fake news is at it again. This time, the failing New York Times, they said incorrectly that Elon Musk is going to the Pentagon tomorrow to be briefed on a potential war with China. How ridiculous. China will not even be mentioned or discussed. How disgraceful it is that the discredited media can make up such lies. Anyway, the story is completely untrue. I wish it was, though, honestly, because as I described yesterday, it's a win-win regardless, because either A, Elon Musk is a secret Chinese asset given his factories in Shanghai and will leak the war plans to China immediately, or Elon Musk is not a Chinese asset, but simply an incompetent billionaire who will accidentally leak that information in an effort to like flex on Twitter for some of his dumbest followers and will undermine those plans regardless. The moment that you got Elon Musk looking into it, I mean, we saw what he did with Doge, right? Like, can't wait for that level of competence to be a formative fixture at America's next chapter of Cold War against China.
Laughed at that story. Who would do such a thing?
Yeah,
And the
remember when Doge leaked a black site on U.S. soil? That was fun.
first thing I did is I called Susie and I called Pete. I said, is there any truth to that? And they said, it's ridiculous. No, he's over there to talk about costs. You might want to address that, Pete. But Elon was over there today to address costs. Doge, thing called Doge, which you've heard about. Pete?
That's exactly right, Mr. President. You point.
It's so funny that like annoying autistic kids or adults that want clout online is probably one of the most consistent ways that the Pentagon ends up leaking classified information on Discord servers. And then you basically have the leading annoying, narcissistic, thin-skinned, autistic man who wants fucking clout online to be in a meeting like this. Like, you literally looked at the War Thunder forums, you looked at that other Discord leaker guy, and you said, let's get the current version of that into one of the most important meetings that we could have about our most significant foreign adversary. Hilarious. Awesome.
Pointed out it was a fake story. We pointed out it was meant to sort of undermine whatever relationship the Pentagon has with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a patriot. Elon Musk is an innovator. Elon Musk provides a lot of capabilities our government and our military rely on, and I'm grateful for that. We welcomed him today to the Pentagon to talk about Doge, to talk about efficiencies, to talk about innovations. It was a great informal conversation. The rest of that reporting was fake. There was no war plans. There was no Chinese war plans. There was no secret plans. That's not what we were doing at the Pentagon.
I might add that I think Elon, if they ever wanted to do that, I think Elon wouldn't do it. I think he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't want to put himself in that position.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so good. Oh, dude. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, Elon cares about America. Oh my God. That's an amazing take. First of all, no billionaire cares about anything but putting another zero next to their net worth, okay? I mean, Trump, if you consider him to be a real billionaire, is a perfect example of this. That is amazing. That is amazing. Ay, ay, ay.
But if you read what's out of the New York Times, it's such a dishonest newspaper. It's such garbage. It's, it used to be called all the news that's fit to print. Well, it's all the news that's not fit to print. They have fake sources, or they don't have sources. I think they make most of it up. But this was a made-up story by the New York Times. I call it the failing. It's a failing newspaper. It's failing. And they shouldn't do that. They really are the enemy of the people.
And something else I don't know.
We do need honest journalism in this. We've made such big strides over the last 2 months, but we just need honest journalism, and we don't have it. When you have a CNN, you have to watch these people every once in a while just to see where they're coming from, and it's so dishonest. MSNBC is, I think, probably worse, and they're both doing horribly in the ratings. I think they're going to be turned off. I don't think, they're not doing any ratings. You're doing well in the ratings.
Thank you. I'll pass that along.
Industries.
I understand that your trade rep is meeting their Chinese counterpart next week.
Yes.
Is there anything that they can do to stop April 2nd or to roll back the tariffs that you put on China already?
Well, we can talk, but basically, I call April 2nd. I would have made it April 1st, but I didn't want to be April Fool's Day because then nobody would believe what I said, and they do believe me. April 2nd is going to be Liberation Day for America. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. We've been ripped off on trade. We've been ripped off on military. We protect people, and they don't do anything for us. It's just so unfair for years and years. And now some of that money is going to be coming back to us in the form of tariffs. I mean, tens of billions. It's going to be numbers like nobody's ever seen. So NVIDIA announced today, you saw that, hundreds of billions of dollars of investment. The biggest chip maker in the world announced hundreds of billions of dollars of investment. Hundreds of billions, not millions, but billions. They're all coming here. Apple just announced $500 billion worth. They're going to build plants here. You know, they built their plants in China. They're going to build them here. And they're starting immediately. We have investment, the likes of which this country has never seen, already announced. And they all want to have news conferences. I don't have enough time to have that many news conferences, but I would say so far at least $4 trillion. $4 trillion is coming in.
Dude, lying is so undefeated. It is crazy. Has anyone ever thought about just simply lying? Like a lot. Just over and over again. And then having an entire media apparatus, both on the mainstream side with Fox News and on the independent media side with every podcast, just go along with it as though it is the case. And it's not like I can't be, maybe I care about this too much, like from the optic side or the narrative side, because I'm a commentator and that's basically all I do. But I am truly in awe of how successful simply fucking lying is. And even if it never happens, and many of the things that they say they're doing are not real, and many of the things that they say is coming is not coming at all, it just does not matter. Like, people just move on to the next lie. It is the Elon Musk method in many ways as well. Every time you do a new product announcement, just straight up lie. Stock prices won't actually get hurt by it, even if you never follow through on them. We're not in Mars. There's no Tesla Roadster. There's no battery swap initiatives. And, you know, look how far Elon was able to get with that. He was able to basically snowball his falsehoods into still, no FSD, no brain chips, just lie over and over again. The only reason why Elon is falling out of favor now is because of his like direct association with Donald Trump and the fact that he's the guy that they're using as a hatchet to gut the administrative state. If that wasn't the case, people probably still would think like, oh, he's the woke guy, right? Tesla, I don't know.
Car companies, very importantly, a lot of the car companies that were going to build in Mexico or Canada are now building here because I don't want cars from.
This chatter says, where is it? There was a chatter who said, is there a tell? Because like when someone lies this much, I'm sure there's a tell. What is Trump's tell? There is no tell. You want to know why there is no tell? Because he lies with every statement. So if everything that you say is a lie, there's no reason for a tell. His tell is just he opens his mouth. Every single thing he says is a lie. So there's no reason to try and figure out what a tell is for Donald Trump because his mouth is open. That's the tell.
Canada. I don't want cars from Mexico. They want to do it, it's fine, but I want the car companies to build here, not, they were building in Mexico 3 plants, big plants, really big plants, and they were going to sell the cars right across the border. We wouldn't have the jobs, we wouldn't have the profits, we wouldn't get the taxes, we get nothing. All we get is unemployment and empty factories. Those days are over. So now those 3.
Apologies to your American viewers for further killing any hopes of free healthcare. We flew 2 prototypes in December and it clearly terrified your military.
places are going to build here, but many more than that. We have a big one. Honda is building, just announced a really big plant in Indiana, great state, smart place to build. And we have many car companies coming here. The steel mills are going to be booming, And many other things, many other things come with that. But we need that for defense. There are certain things you have to have. You have to have steel. We would have had, if I didn't do in my first term tariffs to stop the onslaught, because they were dumping steel in order to destroy our steel plants. If I didn't do 50% and even 100% in certain cases tariffs on steel, you wouldn't have a steel plant in the United States. And Biden was unable to get rid of those tariffs because they threw off so much money that his numbers, which didn't work anyway, because his numbers were terrible, what he did, the way he spent money was so horrible, and what he allowed to happen to energy. That's the other thing. Energy is going to be like it's never been before. Mr. Vice President is here. Do you have anything to say while you're here? He's a very good Vice President.
I'm just here to watch the show, sir.
Okay.
I think airplanes are pretty cool, so I want to go check this out.
It is cool.
Mr. President,
President,
to take off the trade war at this point, though.
Well, I'll be speaking to President Xi. I have a great relationship with him. We're going to have a very good relationship. But we have a $1 trillion deficit because of Biden with President Xi. More than that. I mean, I've heard $1.2 trillion. We have a deficit. And I've explained that to President Xi. We also have a problem where he's allowing fentanyl to be sent into Mexico and then cross the border and, killing. I think the number is much higher than the 125, 115 that I think it's closer to 300,000 people a year. And so that's a problem. But they have a tremendous surplus against the United States, so we don't want that.
Mr. President, why do you control Ukraine's power?
A number of industries have come to you asking for exemptions on tariffs. Is that something that is under consideration by you?
Well, people are coming to me and talking about tariffs, and a lot of people are asking me if they could have exceptions. And once you do that for one, you have to do that for all. So, I mean, generally, I did something interestingly during 2 weeks ago. I gave the American car companies a break because it would have been unfair if I didn't. And everybody said, oh, he changed his mind on tariffs. I didn't change my mind. I helped our, sort of big three, big four. I helped some of the American companies. And instead of taking it properly, they said, oh, he changed it. I don't change. But the word flexibility is an important word. Sometimes there's flexibility. So there'll be flexibility. But basic
Art of the deal. I changed my mind. I didn't change it at all. There's many tariffs coming, but also some of the tariffs are gone. There's no more tariffs. We've destroyed the tariffs. Tariffs are the greatest word in the English language. I love the word tariff. I'm doing tariffs. Tariffs have gotten 10% higher. Tariffs have gotten 10% lower. This is how it is.
Basically, it's reciprocal, so that if China is charging us 50% or 30% or 20%, and I don't mean China, I mean anybody, any country, Canada. Nobody knows that Canada is charging our dairy farmers. They have 270% tariffs. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. They have up to 400%. They have a couple of tariffs at 400%. Nobody knows that. Nobody talks about that. And remember, with Canada, we don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything from Canada. And yet it costs us $200 billion a year in subsidy to keep Canada afloat. So when I say they should be a state, I mean that. I really mean that. Because we can't be expected to carry a country that is right next to us on our border. It would be a great state. It would be a cherished state. The taxes for Canadian citizens would go down in less than half. They don't spend money on military because they think we're going to protect them. There are many things that they do, like icebreakers. They want us to provide icebreakers for them. Oh, that's wonderful. So the Canada, they're very tough traders too. I want to just tell you, of all the people, they're tough traders. They trade very tough. And, the expression I use is, some people don't have the cards. I used that expression about a week and a half ago, right? Somebody was negotiating.
Yeah, he loves his little expressions.
Who didn't have the cards, who's now, I think, saying that he wants to do it. And I think we're going to have a big deal on that very special something. We got to make a deal on that. But Canada has been a very nasty negotiator against the United States, took advantage of the United States for a long time. But nobody knows that they were getting 270% tariffs on dairy products.
Mr. President, follow up on Canada, and I don't think I've heard you say this in all of the talk about Canada becoming the 51st state. Are you concerned that if they became the 51st state, they would be a very, very blue state? Very, very big and very, very blue.
No, there might be, but it would, you know, you have that artificial line that goes, that straight artificial, that looked like it was drawn by a ruler. Somebody with I don't mean a ruler like a king, I mean like a ruler, this way. And it's just an artificial line that was drawn in the sand or in the ice. And you know, and can I tell you, Peter, just, you add that to this country, what a beautiful landmass, the most beautiful landmass anywhere in the world. And it was just cut off for whatever reason. It would be great. Now, is it liberal? Maybe. But, you know, a conservative, until I got involved, because I don't care who wins up there. I frankly probably would do better with the liberal than the conservative, if you want to know the truth. But just a little while ago, before I got involved and totally changed the election, which I don't care about, probably it's to our advantage, actually. But the conservative was leading against, I call him Governor Trudeau. The conservative was leading by 35 points. So, you know, so I don't know about that. I think Canada is a place like a lot of other places. If you have a good candidate, the candidate's going to win.
And I don't know if you've seen this, but the two astronauts that you just helped save from space, they didn't get any overtime pay for all that extra time. They got $5 a day per diem. For 286 days, that is $1,430 in extra pay. Is there anything the administration can do to get them, to make them whole?
Well, nobody's ever mentioned this to me. If I have to, I'll pay it out of my own pocket, okay? I'll get it for them. I'll take care of that. I like that. I think that I'll pay it right out of my, is that all? That's not a lot for what they had to go through. And I want to thank Elon Musk, by the way, because think if we don't have him. You know, there's only so long, even though they're in the capsule up there, that the body starts to deteriorate after 9 or 10 months and gets really bad after 14, 15 months with the bones and the blood and all the things that you've been reporting on very well. And if we don't have Elon, they could be up there a long time. Who else is
they would have perished. They would have just deteriorated.
Going to get him? And I just want to thank him. He's going through a lot, what they're doing to him. And these people are going to be caught, and they're going to be caught, and they're going to be prosecuted. And from what they tell me, I see this just by watching your programs and reading the news, but from what they tell me, they could get 20 years in jail, and they'll get it. I'll tell you, there's going to be no leniency, and there'll be no pardons. I can tell you that right now.
And you said this morning 20 years in jail, and then maybe you said this morning 20 years in jail, and then maybe they'll go to one of these prisons in El Salvador. Do you think with the way that the judges have been issuing injunctions, it would be easier or harder to send these Tesla domestic terrorists to a jail in El Salvador?
Guys, they want to send American citizens to a slave labor camp in El Salvador for vandalism. I can't explain to you how insane this is. If you can't recognize how psychotic this statement is, like the very fact that we are entertaining it, based, dude, an administration that will remove due process and decide that you are a terrorist for vandalism will inevitably lock your stupid ass up too. I don't know how you don't recognize this. I was joking. Okay. No jokes. I thought we had another Asman. I thought we had another Asman Gold in the chat, another Asman Gold follower in the chat going, yeah, based. You should have realized it's a joke, Lamafao. Do you know how many people I encounter on a daily basis that unironically says, yeah, based? Oftentimes they're also saying, like, you know, we should gun Hasan down in the streets, but you're sounding like Hitler. Straight up saying the Nazism out loud? Are you talking about Donald Trump? Because yes. Wait, you're sounding like Hitler, no joking allowed? That's what sounds like Hitler? Not Trump saying, we don't care about due process. If we consider you a terrorist, American citizen or not, we're going to deport you to a concentration labor camp? I feel like out of these two things, like there's one guy who definitely sounds a lot more like Hitler
than these MS-13 or Tren de Aragua guys.
Well, I view these people as terrorists just like others. These are, when I looked at those showrooms burning and those cars, not one or two, like 7, 8, 10 burning, exploding all over the place. These are terrorists. You didn't have that on January 6th, I can tell you. You didn't have anything like that on January 6th, which is sort of amazing because on January 6th, the Democrats were talking. Nobody was killed other than a very beautiful young woman, Ashley Babbitt. Nobody was killed. And you look at what's going on now.
Nobody was killed. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Bro, still talking about January 6th. That's one of my favorite Trump lines. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. He did it again. January 6th. Nobody was killed. Ashley Babbitt was killed.
Now with these terrorists. These are terrorists, and that's an organized event. You know, take a look at their signs. Take a look.
Yeah. January 6th, not an act of terror. Very cool, very fun. Nobody was killed. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Drop penis on a Tesla. I can't even say it. Biggest act of terror so far anyone's ever seen. What is this? So you don't sympathize with people like Lake and Riley? What? Sympathize with people like Lake and Riley? What are you saying, my man? Alan Dulles was also involved in Operation Sunrise in World War II, where he might have tried to make a separate deal with the Nazis. Okay, I don't know what this guy is on about. I'm so confused. Like, you can't know about Alan Dulles and then turn around and also be pro Trump's immigration agenda.
They're all made by the same sign company. A nice, expensive job. Now, these are the people that finance it are, in my opinion, in just as big a trouble as the people that are setting the match and setting the fires. So we'll see. It's under very serious investigation by the FBI and by the Justice Department. These people are terrorists. Okay. Yeah, go ahead behind you, please.
Mr. President, what do you say to American military families who are seeing Elon Musk at the Pentagon today, are hearing about Defense Department cuts, and their thoughts are immediately going to the safety of their loved ones who are currently deployed?
Well, we're making our country strong. And when they see a thing like that and they hear that story about Elon and
like, I'm not even Mr. like January 6ers were terrorists, right? But under Trump's definition, if you think like farting on a Tesla is an act of terror, then what is January 6th then? Like, this is what is so, because like, if you consider farting on a Tesla to be an act of terror, okay, then I'm sorry, January 6th is basically 11 9/11s worth of terrorism, okay? If the standard for terrorism now is like drawing a dick on a Tesla or putting a bag of dog poop on a Tesla, vandalizing a Tesla, then January 6th is like 1,000,000 9/11s. 9/11 itself is 10 million 9/11s. We have raised the standard. That's crazy.
China, what they should do is realize that the New York Times is a corrupt institution, because I think they're the ones. They knew that story wasn't true. Nobody believed that story. People that, when I first called, they laughed when they heard this story. Nobody believed it, that the Pentagon was giving him a briefing on what war with China would look like, and he has business. No, they made that up because it's a good story to make up. They're very dishonest people. Look, I have it with the Times, and you'll see more and more of it. To me, it's a very dishonest organization. But a story like that is made up. It's total fiction. And I just wanted to make sure. I called up Chief of Staff and I called up Pete, and I said, is there any truth to that? Absolutely not. He's there for Doge, not there for China. And if you ever mention China, I think he'd walk out of the room. He wouldn't take it anyway. So it's just a made-up story. Nobody's taken better care of the military. One of the things that I know that Pete's doing is He's talking about a lot of the civilian staff, and we're going to get them other jobs. You know, we're going to have a lot of jobs in this country, but we don't want to have wasteful jobs. We want to have meaningful jobs. And those were wasteful jobs. Those are jobs that not only military, but jobs where people don't show up. You take a look at Department of Education. I've never seen so many buildings with the names on it. You go past one after another Department of Education, and they're empty. The people don't show up. You know why? Because they have other jobs, because they're playing golf, or they're playing something, they're doing something. And we have a lot of great people, but we have to move that back to the States. We're going to make our country strong, and we're going to get people much better jobs, because we have companies moving into our country, the likes of which we've never seen before. Nothing like this has happened. And it's automatic. They don't want to pay the tariffs. How do you avoid paying the tariffs? You build your plant in the United States, and it's a beautiful thing to see. I see it. So far, I would say $4 trillion. Nobody's ever heard of them. No country's ever heard of numbers like that. $4 trillion, and those are the best ones. The biggest, best chip maker in the world. I'm not a fan of the CHIP Act, where you give billions of dollars away to companies that don't need it, and it won't bring them here. I'm giving nothing away. All they're doing is coming here. They're building because they want to avoid. Remember this on the tariffs, too, because that's going to be, Liberation Day, April 2nd. It's reciprocal. If they charge us, we charge them. So somebody say, well, how much are the tariffs? Very fair. If India, as an example, has been very bad to us on tariffs, they charge 100%, 200%, whatever they charge.
Damn, talking shit about India after having a fantastic Modi Glaze sesh is really messed up, in my opinion. Like, he's such a phony friend, dude. He talks behind your back.
Now, Europe just announced they're lowering the tariffs on cars. We charge like a joke, 2.5%. That's what this country charges. Europe just announced that they're reducing their tariffs on cars to 2.5%. It's nice. But they also have non-monetary tariffs where they make it impossible for the cars to get in, even without the dollars on them and the dollar signs. It's called a non-monetary tariff, where they put on controls where no matter what happens, because they don't want cars, they don't want the American car in their market, and yet they send us millions of cars, they send us big agriculture, they don't want our agriculture, they don't want anything from us. European Union's very tough, but now it's fair. So whatever they do to us, we do to them.
Mr. President, as Russia continues to attack Ukraine, are you planning to impose any sort of sanctions?
Well, they're fighting against each other. Yeah, I think we have a ceasefire on a lot of areas, and so far that's all held very well. And getting that ceasefire, they had a lot of guns pointing at each other. You had some soldiers, unfortunately, surrounded by other soldiers, and they are going to be, I believe we're going to pretty soon have a full ceasefire, and then we're going to have a contract. And the contract's being negotiated, the contract in terms of dividing up the lands, et cetera, it's being negotiated as we speak.
What do you say to critics who say that your actions towards law firms amount to coercion?
Well, the law firms all want to make deals. You mean the law firms that we're going after, that went after me for 4 years, ruthlessly, violently, illegally? You mean, are those the law firms you're talking about? They're not babies. They're very sophisticated people. Those law firms did bad things. They went after me for years. Russia hoax. All a hoax. It was a hoax. It was Hunter Biden's laptop. It didn't come out of Russia, by the way. It was came out of his bedroom. It was all a hoax, developed by Democrats. Hillary, I don't think Biden did, because I don't think Biden knows what the hell he's doing, frankly, based on everything I see. I've seen things since being here that are so sad. What he's done to this country, what he and they did to this country, those people that surrounded him, who, by the way, are radical left but smart. He's not smart. He was never smart. But these are radical left, smart people. They totally controlled him. He did whatever they told him to do. And it's a shame. It's so sad to see what happened, what they've done to this country, both not only the inflation you saw, but allowing millions and millions of criminals into our country. That's an inexcusable act. And many other things besides that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very
Thank you, guys.
God damn, dude. Holy shit.